Hello, Tim Kerin here from Mortgage Choice in Kingsley. Today I want to talk, no surprise, about the Royal Commission. That's one of the things I want to achieve, and the other is to make sure you understand how you can help me. I don't normally ask for help. I normally try to make this video as valuable as possible as I can to my clients. Unfortunately today, the most valuable thing I can do is to make sure I'm still around in the future, and that my business is still around in the future, and that my staff and 27,000 other people around the country who are employed in the mortgage broking industry are around in the future. The best way we have of doing that is for you to help me, spread the word, sign a petition, and lobby your local MP. So, first of all, I'm going to explain why that needs to be the case, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to break down precisely how you can help, and it won't take very long, but I would really appreciate you doing it. I apologise if this video ends up being a little bit tangled. Normally I'm able to be quite precise and to the point. Normally I'm talking about the sort of thing that I talk about all day to lots of people, and it tends to roll off the tongue quite easily. Unfortunately, the issue that I'm going to talk about today is complicated, much more complicated than what I normally talk about. It's unique, it's taken us all by surprise, and I'm going to try to explain it in as simple terms as I can with the main points, but I might have to come back afterwards and make a few cuts. So if there's a few cuts, I apologise, it's just me trying to keep it short. So you probably know that last Monday the Royal Commission final report was handed out. It's come as a shock to my industry and to many people, and my belief is that if its recommendations are followed, it will destroy the mortgage broking industry, put the power back in the hands of the big banks, and mean that you as a home loan customer will end up returning to something like the 80s and 90s, when the big four banks had most of the control and interest rates were a few % higher than they are now. Make no mistake, mortgage brokers introduce competition into the industry and have been a reason why the big four banks have had a diminishing market share over the years, and why many smaller players have a chance. If you took away mortgage brokers, you'd take away over 100 branches per lender around the country. That's the equivalent of what mortgage brokers provide to all of these smaller lenders, many of whom you guys are with, because I've taken you to where you can get the best deal rather than who has the best branding. So this is a serious issue. When the Royal Commission interim report came out in September last year, I read it, and my reaction to it was basically that Commissioner Haynes appeared not to understand really how mortgage broking worked, appeared not to have even really taken the time to understand or consult with mortgage brokers. And this was most exemplified by him asking the question, who do mortgage brokers work for? Now, if you're a customer of mine, I hope it's abundantly clear who I work for. I'm not selling home loans, I'm selling a service. I'm selling who I am, my experience, and my team's ability to be here and look after you. And if you've dealt with me once, twice, 3 times, 15 times over the years, you probably understand that very well. I'm not particularly fussed where you end up in terms of any impact it has on me. What I'm fussed about is where you end up in terms of the impact it has on you and of my business's ability to satisfy your needs. So we are, as an industry, unequivocal that we work for the customer, yet somehow Commissioner Haynes couldn't figure that out. So at the time I flagged that as a real concern, that he was mandated to investigate misconduct into 3 sectors, including banking, and somehow had brought mortgage brokers into it, which he wasn't required to do, and started saying things about mortgage brokers and about how mortgage brokers could be the problem, with no proof whatsoever. And in fact, if you do look at the stats, which he clearly has not, you can see that mortgage brokers are part of the solution. Mortgage brokers have been part of far better customer outcomes over the years. And I don't need to explain that to you. You're my customer, you understand what I do for you and the fact that I do it for free. Around that time of the interim report was when I first came to understand that the Labor Party, and I'm sorry to bring politics into it. Politics is normally something I steer clear from, primarily because no matter which side you fall on, I basically just can't stand the lies I see, and I can't stand the need to spend an inordinate amount of time trying to figure out what the truth is. I'd rather spend my time looking after my customers and dealing with what I can control. So that's normally how I am. Today I am going to say a few things about the Liberals and the Labor Party, just to explain what's going on, not because I even have a strong opinion on who should be in power next. When the interim report was released is roughly when I became aware that the Labor Party was in support of implementing all the recommendations of the Royal Commission, no matter what they were, without having read it. So 3-4 months at least in advance of Commissioner Haynes' final report coming out, when the Labor Party did not even know what it was going to say, when nobody knew what it was going to say, except perhaps Commissioner Haynes himself, the Labor Party said, we will implement all recommendations of it. Now, at the time, I flagged that as moronic. I don't understand how you could possibly do that. What if he recommends something that is terrible for the country? Are you going to implement that? And lo and behold, that's now happened. It doesn't surprise me that at the time of recording, Labor hasn't given a formal response to the Royal Commission. That's probably because if they do, they'll have to stick to their word, or they're tempted to stick to their word, and that's going to result in quite a lot of people being very upset at them. Now, that meant that the Liberal Party needed to, going into an election which appears to be a few months away, needed to figure out probably how to distinguish themselves from Labor. I'm no political commentator, I'm no political expert. That's what it looks like to me. Scott Morrison, the Prime Minister, has said a couple of things that sound much more measured, and while they are still keen to implement the recommendations of the Royal Commission, they are not going to implement all of them, but they still have said they'll ban trail commission from 2020. Now, when we read the final report, and I haven't read all 1,100 pages of it yet, I'm relying on industry experts breaking down the key points. It seems to me that while Commissioner Haynes was asked to investigate misconduct in the banking sector, and while he has indeed done that and all but directly accused people in the banking sector of being criminals and recommended that they be investigated for crimes, while he's done that, he's also relied on their advice to figure out how to deal with the problem. That is an absolute travesty of justice. It's a betrayal of me, it's a betrayal of my team, it's a betrayal of the mortgage broking industry, and it's a betrayal of everybody who's going to be a customer of a lender at some point in future, and everyone who already is, because the long-term impact is that mortgage brokers won't be here to help unless we do something about it. The banning of trail commission is a complicated issue to discuss. It's been justified off the back of what the CEO of the biggest bank in the country, CBA, said, which is that the average loan size of brokers is higher than for people that go directly through the branch. Now, while that might be true, it's not because trail incentivises us to talk people into bigger loans, as has been inferred. If you actually look at the stats, and if you actually understand the mortgage broking industry, quite the opposite is true. It's because people tend to go into branches more often for loan top-ups, which are for smaller amounts, dragging the average down. And it's because our regular experience as brokers is that people come to us with the complicated stuff, which tends to be the higher net worth stuff, the stuff that has multiple properties and multiple loans. It's no surprise that if a broker is the expert compared to someone you might find in a bank, the broker is dealing with the more complicated stuff, perhaps, and as is a common experience for me, perhaps because someone in a bank branch has let them down and said things that don't make sense. I come and provide them clarity and a solution. It's no surprise that I'm the one that does that loan, which of course drags the mortgage broker average up. So while it might be true that the average loan size is higher for mortgage brokers, we know, because we understand the industry and we have stats to back it up, that it's not because we are incentivised because of trail commission to somehow talk people into higher loans. It's because we do the right thing and look after people, and as a result, we deal with the people on average that have higher loan amounts. But likewise, we deal all the time with people who have lower loan amounts, and we spend a lot of our time, I would estimate about 50% of the time I spend, is for no pay at all. Again, the CEO of CBA would put it, Commissioner Haynes effectively quoted that in the Royal Commission. That is, he said brokers don't do any work for trail. which my whole industry is in disbelief at. Whenever I've helped you in a way that doesn't result in a new loan settling with new money at a new lender or new money at your existing lender, I don't receive an upfront commission for that. If I didn't write your loan, I don't receive a trail commission for that. If I did write your loan, and let's say I help you, I was talking to a customer yesterday who got his loan a year ago and now he wants to fix the rate for 2 years. I'm going to help him through that process. I'm going to give him advice. I'm going to talk to him and we're going to fix his loan for 2 years. I will receive no income from doing that other than the fact that he is still a customer whose loan is still on my loan book, and I will continue to receive trail income for him. So in fact, trail is a brilliant mechanism that encourages me and other brokers to look after our clients, because if we don't, we lose that. If you know me as a person, you know it's important to me to be honest and act with integrity and look after people. And my honest belief is that what has been done is disgusting. And essentially, if implemented, is going to put us in a position where you no longer have my services because I can't pay my staff and make a living. We need to do something about that. We have to fight it. And if we don't fight it, maybe you won't really feel the effects of it until A, next time you need my advice and can't get it, and B, in a few years perhaps when net interest margins have increased and suddenly you find yourself on an interest rate that's a couple of percent higher because despite the promises from the banks that they would pass on the savings to consumers, we all know they're going to pass it on to shareholders. One final thing on that subject, it's been alleged, and this is an outright lie, that because lenders have to pay brokers a commission, customers are inadvertently paying for it through their loan interest, that lenders have to charge you more interest in order to pay me a fee. That's a furphy, it's a red herring, and the reason is that if they weren't paying me to do it, they'd be paying someone in their own branch to do it, and the cost of doing that is higher, which is why almost every lender out there is in support of the mortgage broking industry remaining. We have an economic value to lenders because we're the experts, we get it right. I speak for myself when I say I don't submit applications I don't think are going to get approved, unless in a very rare circumstance where the client is completely aware that we are trying and we might not succeed. I'm quite happy to say lies because at the very least they are lies by omission, and I believe it's more accurate to say this is an absolute travesty of justice, as I've said. If you want to support me, if you want to have access to a mortgage broker in future, please help. Please help me, please help my team, please help yourself, please help an entire industry of people who are out there, small business owners, trying to do the right thing and consistently day in, day out, working hard to make sure lenders look after us. There's a campaign by my industry association, the Mortgage and Finance Association of Australia, MFAA. You can find that at www.brokerbehindyu.com.au. If you go to that campaign page, you should be able to click that you're a customer, and that will give you the ability to automatically generate an email, if you just input your postcode, to your local federal MP to let them know that you're against the recommendations of the Royal Commission when it comes to destroying the mortgage broking industry. Those are my words, not what the petition says. The second thing at that site is if you can sign the petition that's there as well. The third thing I'd like you to do is share this with as many people as you can. Anyone you think, anyone you think might one day want to buy a house if they haven't already, or might one day want a better deal on their home loan and could do with the advice of somebody like me, make sure they know about this, make sure they have the opportunity to look after their own future, and share this with them and implore them to number one, watch this video. Number two, sign the petition. Number three, make sure their local federal MP knows that we are against this. We're going into an election, and we need our politicians to understand that we should not be a political football. We are here serving ordinary Australians every day without charging them a fee, and that if the Royal Commission is implemented, then people will have to pay for that service, which is in nobody's interest except the big banks. It just puts power back in their hands. If I go on, I'll be repeating myself or talking about detail that probably doesn't help, so I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. Hopefully things return to normal, but my sense is that this is going to be a long, drawn-out, wearisome fight, and I'll keep you posted. Thank you.